Facebook is trying to not let us be great tonight,
Yeah, it
but
is
that's okay.
not.
We are
But
binding
I'm
that up
about
in the
to
name
try
of Jesus.
something else. We might have to do
Okay.
a workaround.
Okay. Workarounds work.
Okay, we're live on YouTube.
Okay.
I will send that to Facebook.
Okay. Fancy. You go, girl. All right. That's right. You cannot hold a Black woman down. We're going to work it out. We're going to work it out. There are some beautiful faces on the screen as I'm scrolling through. I love my sisters. Oh my goodness. All right. Thank you, Charlene. I appreciate your vote of confidence. Yes, we are fancy. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Zoom. All right. So just let me know when you want me to start, Ava. I'll go ahead and get started.
Rhonda, where our music at? We have theme music in women's chat. Where our music?
I know. See, what had happened was I didn't realize, I forgot about how Facebook has this whole regulations about music and things. I didn't want to get people in trouble by with the music this time. So they had to put the whole little disclaimer about not owning the rights to the music and all that. But we're gonna have to get one of y'all musical people to write a song for us, and then we'll have the rights to it and we can play it. I know there's some talent in this group that can do that. I know there is.
Oh, her name is Cena.
Cena. You gonna sing it for us, Cena? All right, okay. Anyway, I think we're live. We are live. Are we live? Are we live? We're live on YouTube. Are we live on Facebook too?
No, it looks like it's just YouTube for now.
Okay. So we were telling, well, I guess we can send the link out to people we have some people that are planning on watching on Facebook. But so anyway, welcome to what month? This is August, to the August Women's Chat. My name is Rhonda Slade. I am one of your hosts. As you can see, I'm flying solo for right now. Ms. Arshina had another engagement that's running a little bit late, but she is going to join us before we end tonight. So we just wanted to come together as we do and celebrate Black women, celebrate the women of the HBCU Singles Lounge. We're going to have some really good conversations, some great discussions, and I'm excited. Are you excited? I'm excited. I'm excited about being a Black woman right now, today in America. Whatever your political affiliations and thought processes are about Ms. Harris and Senator Harris, we got a Black woman going to the White House as VP. So I'm just excited. So I love this. This is a wonderful time for us. We need to come together like we've never come together before. And last month was powerful, y'all. Last month was incredible. We really had a groundbreaking shift, in my opinion. It was beyond. It was beyond what we imagined. It was beyond what we expected. And it was because of you, your willingness to share and open up and talk about the traumas in your lives and also the successes in your lives. I really believe that had solidified our sisterhood. It is still just amazing to me. And before we even get too far into this, I just want to give a huge shout out to the administrators of this here group. I would not have survived through this pandemic without the HBCU Singles Lounge. And I believe a lot of us could agree. These people, I don't want to start calling off names, so I'm gonna forget somebody, but y'all know our wonderful administrators, how hard they work to put on this programming for us every night. I've been on this thing every night this week. I've been on this screen every night this week. And it's been amazing. I stepped outside of my comfort zone and went on the dating game. Can you believe that? I was a contestant on the dating game. I know Tiara's looking at me like, what? I wasn't selected, but I had a blast. I had a ball. the gentleman who I don't even know his name, who was asking the questions, was asking some deep questions at 10:30 at night. It was crazy, but it was an amazing experience, a total step outside of my comfort zone. Even this platform, this is my zone. I was explaining to one of the young ladies who joined, she said she's an introvert. This is her first time. Technically, I am an introvert too. My normal personality, I'm okay sitting in a room in the dark by myself reading a book. I'm good. But when I'm called to do what I'm called to do, I come alive. And so one of the things that I'm called to do is empower and uplift women. So every month, oh, thank you, Jerry. Thank you. Every month, Arshina and I start this off by saying, given the disclaimer that we are not therapists, right? We say this every month. We say we are not mental health professionals. We are just women of a certain age who have been through some things and are willing to share our experiences to help others. I'm older than Arshina. I consider myself her big sister and older than most of y'all on this screen. But I have a wonderful surprise and gift for you tonight. Have you ever heard the phrase, if you're the smartest person in your circle, you need to get a new circle? Have you ever heard that phrase? Right. Well, I am definitely not the smartest person in my circle. And I have been blessed to have multiple circles of people who are amazing in their own right and are willing to share of their gifts. So God dropped in my spirit that we needed to have an actual mental health professional to join us tonight. Not to diagnose anybody, not to treat anybody, but to just help provide some light and shed some insight into some of the things that we've been talking about. And as he gave me that idea, I was like, who am I gonna call? And my work daughter, work niece, whatever I want to call her, young lady I work with who I am so incredibly impressed with every day, God said, call T. So at 3:00 this afternoon, I sent her a text message. And I told her, I said, look, I have a huge favor to ask of you. And you can say no, but I explained what I wanted. And she was like, sure. So I'm going to introduce to you all my friend, my work daughter, my buddy, Tiara Carter, who is a licensed therapist in the greater metropolitan area and currently serves as the manager of mental health and support services at Metro Health in Washington, D.C. As a graduate of the illustrious Xavier University of Louisiana and Bowie State University, she learned early the importance of connection to and advocacy for one's community, and as such, works diligently to educate and support Black and Brown persons of color to help bridge gaps of inequity. With intention, she seeks to create and maintain space for healing through authentic self-reflection and judgment-free conversation. So I present to you all Tiara Carter, and she's going to be here. I'm just going to ask her to share a little bit. I have a couple of questions, and then we're all going to still jump in and talk like we usually do. But we're going to have some expert advice on the line with us as we're having this discussion. So Tiara, if you would just unmute yourself and say whatever the Lord has laid on your heart to say to us to start off with, and now I'll get to my questions. And I love you, girl, for doing this at the very last minute. So thank you so much.
Thank you for that amazing introduction first and foremost. And I'm honored to be in spaces with Black women. Anytime I share space with women of color, I am humbled because I leave that space with a transformed mindset around something. So I'm just grateful to be here with you. As Miss Slade, as Rhonda, oh gosh, that's so new to me, but as Rhonda alluded to, yes, I am a therapist. I first got my love for therapy in college when I failed physics twice. I realized that going to medical school just wasn't for me. And out of that, I think was a strong desire to help the people that looked like me find their way. And psychology was the best thing for me for that. I am active in my community, but more importantly, I am so very inspired by my community. You know, I look around at what's happening in the world around us, and it is so transformative. So So I'm anxious to get started with this conversation. I am grateful to just be able to lend my little bit of wisdom in here. And I am here to share and hold space for healing for everyone. So thanks.
I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. So last month, I think I sent you the clip. I don't know if you had a chance to watch it, but last month we got into some deep conversations, and some of the takeaways that just resonated with me last month was, number one, that happiness is a choice and that we need to snatch it back, right? Because there were quite a few women that shared about not even having the freedom to be happy as a Black woman in America, and all of the responsibilities that are put on us as Black women. And if whoever is not muted, if you could please mute, that would be great. Thank you. We talked about the need for boundaries and how crucial boundaries are in all areas of our life. And we also talked, and one of the young ladies said something so profound to me. She said, boundaries show how much you love yourself, right? If you don't have boundaries, it shows that you're open to not loving yourself enough to have boundaries. And then also that self-care is not selfish, right? So those were kind of the main takeaways from last month. But I wanted to talk to you and all of us this month to add on that or build on that around, we all know the persona of the strong Black woman, right? And that was part of what came out last month too, was that we have to be for everyone, right? And so that strong Black woman persona often provides extra stress, extra pressure on top of everything else that's going on in the world. And so, one of our forever role models and my forever First Lady, Michelle Obama, just last week revealed that she has struggled and is struggling with depression. So can you share with us, Tiara, from the standpoint of a licensed therapist, what does high functioning depression look like? And how is that kind of masked within the whole strong Black woman persona?
Okay, that is like way to jump in there. So first and foremost, I'd like to say that high functioning depression looks different for everyone, right? Like each and every one of us has our norm, what looks right for us, feels right for us, and we know when that's off. And I think more importantly, high functioning depression is a moment where that abnorm becomes the new norm, where you're sort of like, this is not normal for me. I'm not happy here, but this is how I function. This is how I move. This is my everyday existing. And that is more so, I like to call it resignment, right? You're existing, but you're sort of resigned. Yeah, you're resigned about that existence. It's something it's a dissociation from what you're really feeling. And I think more importantly, that ability to keep going is so very present for the Black woman, because my grandmother used to say the Black woman is meant to show up. Like that is what she is meant to do, whether that is show up at her job, whether that is show up in her relationship, whether that is show up with her family. And she is the last person that is oftentimes showed up for. She oftentimes forgets to remind herself to eat in a day, right? She will live off of 4 and 5 hours of sleep for months, weeks, years on end and say, oh, I function this way, and her body's falling apart, right? There's the moment where rest becomes secondary and what has to get done becomes primary. And I think that's sort of that first indicator that we're in a space of just constant I can't even find the word for it, but it is an on-go mentality. And I think it speaks to ultimately realizing when enough is enough for you, right? Realizing when you have reached your bottom line. And that is very much different for everyone. So, and I'm currently, just as an aside, I'm currently reading The Unapologetic Black Guide to Black Mental Health. By Dr. The book is in there. I cannot remember the name. I'll put it in the chat. But she really speaks to how people of color have been conditioned to function in these with these high expectations, with the absence of self-care, just with the complete negation of knowing when to say when. And I think that is sort of at the precipice of high functioning depression. Just, I'm sad, I'm resigned, this is my life, I don't really see it changing, but I continue to go. I continue to go. Everything around me is sort of hopeless. It's a space of hope without the, I guess I can't get out of bed feeling, if that makes sense.
Right, because I think that's part of the misconception about depression. Yes. That people assume that if you're depressed, you're balled up in a corner crying, but that's not often the case, right? Yes. And that, and also we definitely don't have the luxury of just balling up in the corner and crying when you have responsibilities and things like that. So thank you for that. So ladies, anyone want to chime in or comment about that description or even the, Michelle Obama's announcement or any of the things that we're talking about when it comes to this strong Black woman persona and the depression and the link to it, if possible, and how that could impact you and yourself. Anyone raising their hands? Yes, I see Kimberly Johnson and then Stacy. Kimberly Johnson first.
I'll turn my video on when I talk. I'd like to know the difference between, so you have high functioning depression that people experience, but during this time of pandemic, I think we all may experience it. I mean, I know there's a lot of days where I'm like, oh, well, I'm just going to push through. Do you find that it's more prevalent now? And is it possible for us to get stuck here if things don't open up soon?
Yes, absolutely. I think I have a professor in my doctoral program, and she put it in this sort of context that humans have a capacity for a lot, right? We can just think about what a human woman's body can do, right? She can push out another human being from her and survive, okay? So we have the capacity to take a lot, but then there's a moment like in the emotional turmoil of life that we reach our max. And when you reach that max, there's nothing else that you have to give. And the longer you continue to sustain that like maximum pressure, maximum push, maximum, you are bound to burn out. You are bound to burn out. So I think what's happening right now is it was already hard as hell being a Black woman in America. This is before like the heightenedness of the racial tension. It was already hard as hell, okay? And then we have a pandemic happen, right? And then you start seeing those gaps that you knew existed for the Black community expand even larger. They get even closer to home. They literally start transforming parts of your life, right? So now you're reaching your max there. But then on top of that, you see a Black man and a Black woman murdered on TV in front of you again, right? So now you're re-traumatized. Now you're realizing I'm really not safe. Even if I'm doing everything right, even if I'm asleep in my bed, I still can, right? So now you're maxed, right? You're maxed. And I think this is the perfect storm. Depression is a perfect storm, really. It is a lot of different factors that play sort of the perfect role to sort of create the perfect situation that foster that depression. And these are the makings. These are the things that lead to individuals for years living high functioning, living ways that are just like, this is how I go, this is how I move, this is how I exist, but never really thriving, never really getting a chance to dig deep and take a look at what's really happening below the surface.
Wow, that's incredible. That's powerful. Thank you, Stacy F.
Hey, I think for me, one of the questions that came up in the group earlier this week is, what do people assume about you? And my answer was, people assume that I am strong and I can handle everything and I can answer everything and I can do all this stuff. So therefore, sometimes they bring their stuff to me, and don't necessarily ask me how they can take my stuff. So technically, I'm dealing with my own stuff, and now everybody else is piling their stuff. And that can get to be a heavy burden when you already feel like the weight of the world is on your shoulder. And you've mentioned, how much stuff the Black woman is already, expected to carry. And then you add on all of this other stuff that is happening. And then if you are a person who's going through other things, it could be death or unemployment or whatever else the case may be. In this case, we're all in a singles lounge, so I'm over here at the house by myself, what I'm saying, during this pandemic or whatever. And so and thinking about some of the stuff that you're saying about this high functioning depression, I have to wonder, have I been a high functioning depression for years, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, because not only have I been dealing with mine, I'm dealing with everybody else's, because I am the go-to person, because they're like, oh, Stacey, you smile a lot, you do this, you do that, you get it done, you blah, blah, blah. But again, it is everybody bringing stuff to me and nobody necessarily asking me, can I take something from you? And I think that that's sometimes very hard. And especially like for me, I am an extrovert, not necessarily introvert. But when it comes to trying to say, hey, take this, I'm not that girl. You know what I'm saying? And it's trying to figure out, how do you do that if you are strong or not? And I don't want to say not trying to appear weak, but it's just in my nature, like, to get it done, right? You know what I'm saying? So I'm constantly taking, but I'm never giving it away. So then there are days where I'm here by myself and I might break. I ain't gonna let nobody see it. You know what I'm saying? But, how is it that we fix that? How do I fix it?
The word fix. So I have a very real relationship with that word, because I used to call myself a fixer. That's what I do. I go in people's lives, I go in their relationships, and I fix things, right? But when you are fixing, you are looking for a solution and maybe not enjoying the journey, right? You're looking to get it done, you're looking to get it over with. I gotta fix this, get this off my list, because I got a lot of other things to get done. And so I started reframing how I saw the work that I did. Now, when I reframed how I saw the work, it was easier for me to put in boundaries, because now I'm in a space where I have to do this for me to be able to fully support you. And if I'm not able to fully support you because I haven't fully supported me, we're both in a worse position. But it first came from me reframing that I'm not going to save them. Like, they can't see me as Captain Save-A-Ho. Like, that has to stop. That's not who I am, right? But I am there right with you, but I am not there to fix you. And because I'm not there to fix you, maybe the ways that I address this problem are a little bit different. Maybe I have a little bit more strength to say, I can't, not right now. I need to do X, Y, and Z to ensure that I have done for me. And it is in no way, and I, again, personally, the word no for me is very, 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 very hard. Very hard. Like, no is at the last of the words for me to tell you. And sometimes, because when I heard no, I heard rejection, I heard they don't care, I heard they don't really want to help. I just heard things that weren't no, if that makes sense. And when I started hearing that no does not mean rejection, no just means no, or not right now, right? I now am able to look at that situation, or I'm now able to look at me saying no as an affirming thing, as an ability for me to find my strength to get what I need to get done, as putting myself first, as self-caring. And I don't think you're wrong for any space that you like. that's real. Like there are pillars in the community that are pourers. That's what we do. We pour. That's just our role. We pour. We pour into the community. We pour into our family. We pour into our relationships. We pour into our jobs. We are pourers. But that does not mean that we are not meant to be poured into too. And it doesn't mean that we have, like, it's an overrunning well, if that makes sense. Like there's a moment where you put that pitcher back right upside, because gravity needs to do some work to put that pitcher back to full. That makes sense?
It does. Yeah, we talked a little bit last month about no being a complete sentence. And I'm seeing in the chat where people are talking about, you can't pour from an empty cup. So of course you have to refill. And I saw Francie said, no is a gift. No is a gift. It is a gift to be able to say no. And that takes some time, because we talked a bit last month too about being socialized to be people pleasers and to serve others. So it's important to look at it, like you said, to frame it from the standpoint of, I can't help you if I'm not whole, if I'm not full, I'm not able to give. So I have to say no to this right now. That's wonderful. So the next hand was Sina. Miss Sina.
So I was gonna say, Stacy pretty much, she said some of what I was saying, but like I said last month, sometimes of being that leaning post and not other people not knowing when you need to lean. For me, I kind of feel like what Stacy said, like, I feel like, well, dang, hearing it now, I've been a high functioning depressive for years, because like some of the ladies in the group know, recently, my mom fell and broke her ankle, and she's older. And so both my parents have been self-sufficient, never had to worry about it, but we're both out of the house, me and my brother. So getting that phone call in the middle of the day, it's like, I'm already balancing. I've been teleworking since March, and I'm a trainer. So doing training from home is rough. And I moved in the midst of the pandemic. So it's like I had the struggles of selling a house, moving in with my parents for months, then moving into a brand new home, brand new space, and having to readjust my teleworking experience. And on top of that, be a functioning member, and then to have everything in the world just completely fall apart with the protests and stuff. Now everybody at my job, being that I work for the government, now everybody wants to have these conversations about racial injustice and racial equity. And of course, my team being trainers, we are having to somewhat spearhead a lot of these conversations within our department. And, so my boss decided one day, I have a small team of three women. My boss is a Black woman. My coworker is a white woman, but her kids are mixed. So we had a conversation of, well, how do you feel? Well, of course, my coworker spoke from her angle. But when it came time for me to speak, it was like, I had to turn my camera off, because I was just it was so much anger just built up, because, I'm from the area that I live in now, and seeing some of the things happen in my own area near my job. Like, it was just like, I've been seeing this all my life. This is nothing new. This is just a repeat of the civil rights movement for me. Like my parents talking about it and then having to relive it at my age. Like, it was already so much built up. And the one thing that I pinpointed that I really feel all the time is having to fake who I am when I step in that door at work. And how depressive that can be. And with everything happening the way that it happened in the last few months, we had some bad protests here too in North Carolina. And just seeing all of that stuff, it just like, when the question came up to me, well, how are you feeling? I've gotten a lot of white coworkers that ask me, how do you feel? And I'm like, I can't even put into words how that feels to me, because I have a Black brother. I have, male friends that are important to me, and I worry about them all the time. And so, and then like my father is getting older. He may not always know how to act around cops. He's a hothead. So it's like, for me, my biggest issue is just having to perpetrate, so to speak, who I really am. Because in the group, yeah, I am one person. But depending on who you are to me in this group, some of the people that I really rock with outside of the conversations we have, they see a different side of me, the real me that I can't always show out to normal people in the world. Because, like, for one thing, my name is almost as Black as they come, is Country. My whole name is Country. So it's like, I've been perpetrating all my life. I have to put on this white girl persona to get things done in my life, to get a job, to keep a job. And then the one thing I told my boss, the one time you see me upset at work, that you forever label me as that angry person from then on out. So it's like I have to withhold who I am. And I'm like, nobody gets to see me sit in the shower and cry before I got to go to work every day, or however I choose to deal with it. Because I'm not a drinker, but you know, hey, teleworking kind of brings that out of you. It brings out some bottles of wine for me. So it's like, then to have to deal with my mom getting hurt, and now, even though yes, she has a son, my brother, I love him to death. He doesn't always step up when they need help. So because I'm around the corner and I work flexible, they call me for everything. What's my password? Can you come install this on my computer? Oh, your mama fell and broke an ankle. Can you come and sit with her at the hospital? Can you come help me get her out the car and do this and do that? And I'm not gonna lie, this happened about a week ago. So the last week has been nothing but tears for me, because it's like, I gotta deal with all of that and then work, and then gotta deal with begging people for help. So it's like, I'm like, now hearing the definition, I'm like, well, damn, I guess maybe I have been a highly functioning depressive, because it's like, I try not to self-diagnose, but I'm like, something ain't right. I can't even be who I generally am. I can be a people pleaser. So that saying no thing, I can feel that. It's very hard sometimes.
And you mentioned something key around time, right? Like, what makes depression is that it does not live for an extended period of time, right? Years, months, like.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I mean, having had my own personal experiences with depression, for me, it is physical. It is a very physical, bodily, somatic thing. And that will last for months. That lasted for months. I mean, I didn't know that's what it was at the time, but like, for your body to just hurt for months on end, and you're like, why does my body hurt? Like, I haven't run into anything, right? I haven't thrown myself down a flight of stairs, but I feel like I got hit by a Mack truck, right? Like,
and it creates a level of anxiety.
Yeah.
Little stuff starts to bother me. I start to overthink so many things in life because of it.
So that's not crazy. That's not abnormal. I mean, depression and anxiety occurring comorbidly. I am tired, y'all. I can use this word, I promise. Comorbidly. There it is. Occurring comorbidly, so together. That's not uncommon. Most people that do experience depression also experience some form of anxiety. It's almost like they go hand in hand. But where oftentimes I think people of color go wrong in the conversation of depression and anxiety is where we start feeling something's wrong, but we don't take care of it. We don't talk to a person. We push it to the side and go back to our lives. And the longer we do that, years, months turn in, to decades, and we have reached the end of our rope. Right. And then people are like, I would have never expected them to whatever. But this is 10 or 15 years in the making. And maybe 10 or 15 years ago, we had taken a second to just say, all right, I haven't felt like myself for maybe the last 4 or 5 weeks. Maybe I should go ask someone what's happening here. Maybe I should just, get a little more insight around what could be happening. May not be what is, but what could be happening. Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you for that, Sina and Tiara. When I raised my hand when you were talking about the pain and decades of it, I recently have been officially diagnosed with depression, but I've been high functioning for years and years and years, but also in chronic pain for years and years and years, and never fully understanding where the pain, I had arthritis, but I'm like, where did this come from? And how did this begin? And all of these different things. And sometimes waking up with bruises. And like you said, I didn't walk into anything. What's going on? And it was my primary care doctor that said, depression sometimes manifests in pain and physically. And so that was crucial to me. And it was eye-opening as well. And so I'm looking at some of the comments. I'm trying to follow on YouTube and follow in here. And I see people talking about the superwoman syndrome and all of the things that we deal with and how this can impact us. And so I want to keep the momentum going. I see Ashley has her hand raised. I know Ashley, she's gonna come with something deep. Go ahead, Ashley. I love you. Go ahead.
I am not coming with something deep today. First of all, I'm on camera just for you, Rhonda. There you go.
Thank you.
So I think, let me just say this: everybody that has spoken has kind of tapped into my own personal life, in some type of way, and I'm going to be brief about it. But for me, my question for you, Tiara, before I ask is, I don't think I'm depressed. I don't have any. I don't. I'm a fixer naturally. I gravitate to people who need to be fixed, and I rebel against people who seem to have it together. That's just my natural instinct. But my mom, who we don't have the best relationship at all, she's kind of like my sister more than a mother. Um, for the first time, expressed to me that she feels like she's depressed, and I didn't know what to say to her besides get out the house. Because I just feel like she's in her four walls. But when I come to this group, and I'll just give you a story. Stress and taking on people's problems definitely affects your health. Um, I definitely went from walking to not walking because I decided not to take care of myself and take care of everybody else. And I have RA, and RA is already severe. But when you add stress to it and you don't take care of who you are and you don't fix yourself, it will eat you alive. And it ate the complete fuck out of my knees and sat me down. And it took for me to be sat down for me to focus on myself, which is how I got to the group, yada, yada, yada. I was in the hospital, blah, 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 blah. But I say to say this, I didn't get a therapist until we met last month. I didn't feel like I needed a therapist. I felt like I need some sleep. I get annoyed. I move on. I keep it moving. But there are some things that I have swept under the rug. There are some things, thank you. There are some things that I have just let bygones be bygones, and I still do it to this day. I'm off of work or medical leave, but I'm still working for other people. I'm still putting other people first, and that's just my nature. So when it comes to, on top of that, I have an 87-year-old grandmother and an uncle who has lung cancer, and they live in Dallas and I live in Austin, and I'm the youngest person in the family. Neither that. My question for you is, in my regards to my mom, now I'm putting somebody else before me, what do I say to her when they have never unpacked their issues? They don't deal with the trauma that they've had in their life, from my uncle being murdered to my grandfather being killed by a drunk driver. They kind of just be sad and move on. And that is the norm in my family, to not address these bones in our closet. So what should I, Kelly, we'll talk, baby, I'll help you. What can I say to my 64-year-old mom, who's fine, by the way? Anybody want her? Me and call me. What can I say to her when she says she's depressed and we don't really have, I can't go over there and hug her. We don't hug, that's awkward to us. We can't be in the room for more than 5 minutes. I'm gonna such out her ass. So what can I say to her?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Did she ask for like help? Was she saying that to like desire to go to therapy? Was she saying that for, I guess sometimes we say things because like we need to say it. It needs to get out of our space and over there, but we may not be requesting or looking for a solution just yet. And I would hate for you to give the solution and it may not fall on fertile ground yet,
Absolutely. My thought process, my assumption, I will call it what is an assumption. We take, especially the women in my family, my grandmother, my mom and I, we take our burdens to the bed, the shower, whatever. We don't really talk about them. Mm-hmm. So I looked at her opening up to me, her child, and saying these things like I'm depressed. To me, that's a cry. I need help.
Okay.
But I'm not comfortable telling my mama she need to go to therapy when I know for a fact she need to go to therapy. She need to unpack a lot of shit in her life.
Well, I don't think that you have to say the words, you need to go to therapy. I think sometimes going to therapy is just having a conversation. And that conversation may not be with a therapist, right? It, like you said, there's a reason she told you this. So maybe
she want me to do it? Oh, I'm not the person.
real. Maybe the first step is just to talk, just to say, well, can you explain what that means? Can you help me to understand how you feel? Right? You're not trying to fix the problem. You're just trying to talk to her to better understand her. Right? Because you know that you're not able to take that on.
Right.
That's not something for you. So right now you're just showing up as a daughter, right? You're just showing up. You just say, hey, I heard you and I want to listen. I want to see what you see. I want to feel what you feel. I want to understand it from your eyes. And then maybe we can talk about a solution. But right now, that's not what I'm giving. Like you drop something on me and I'm just here to hold it for you.
I just bought a margarita from Chili's. Y'all playing. Keep it moving. But that's definitely something. And I'm not gonna take up the time. That's an uncomfortable conversation for me and my mom. We don't talk about feelings. If I'm sad, if I'm going through, if I feel tired, if I feel overwhelmed, I'm going to my dad because my dad is going to listen and then give me the generic pray about it, let God handle it, keep it moving. But at least I can talk it out. My mama not the type of person. So I'm not comfortable having that type of conversation with her. So I don't think I'm emotionally ready to handle what she might drop on me. Right. And that's just me being completely honest.
Yeah, and that's a great appraisal. Like, to be honest, if you know you and you know you're not ready, don't push yourself, right? You don't have to. This is no pressure, bro. This is chill. But if you arrive to that point, right? If you get to a space where you've done the work and you are ready to broach that type of conversation and she's still open, it may not be to solve it or to go to a solution, but just, I'm here to talk. I want to talk this out with you because I don't have a close relationship with you. And maybe I do desire to have one. Maybe I don't, right? But this is, I am rediscovering just how much control we as Black women give up. And we have the keys to the kingdom.
Yes, yes.
In all areas, we have the keys. So sometimes it's just, I need a second to be able to gather my keys up to actually be able to give you the right one to open the door. But it doesn't mean that I don't, like, I'm here. I just need to get myself right so that when that door opens, I'm actually able to walk through it with you. And I don't just lead you to it on the other side.
Y'all see why I invited her? You see why God told me to call Tiara? Y'all see this right now. So I noticed that our co-host Arshina is in the building. Hey, Arshina. I just wanted to say hey real quick. We have a line of people with their hands raised. We're gonna come back to you in just a moment, Arshina. Thank you, Ashley, for sharing. That was amazing. And thank you so much for turning on your camera for me. I feel so special because I know you did that just for me. So thank you. So Keisha, I saw your hand up. Did you just take it away?
Oh, no, I'm here.
Okay, go ahead, Keisha. It's your turn.
So number one, I just want to say hello to all the super women that are in the group today. Your stories are amazing. And just sharing just a little bit, I do have a statement next. I'm a question following. But I think it goes back to, for me, I think you're right. We've all suffered from depression at some point. Sometimes we faced it. Sometimes we didn't know we were going through it because we do wear so many hats. I guess the thing that was for me and how I kind of deal with the depression, sometimes I give myself time to go through it. You know, I'm like, hey, I need 24 hours, 48 hours. I need to lay in the bed. I need to talk to somebody. I need to do nothing. I need to have an outlet. Whatever my situation is, I'm going to allow myself to have those feelings. Yeah. Because for so many years, we kept that in, right? Like I didn't talk to my mother about this. And it was a long time. I didn't even talk to my best girlfriends about it. Sure. So now allowing myself to feel and discover that those feelings are okay, it's definitely helped me to grow in that. Yeah. So I guess my question, to you would be, for me, my outlet is traveling. Is, do we have that outlet and I know sometimes we're depending on a person to give us that. Like if we give to you, we want you to give to us. And sometimes that comes in a lot of shapes and forms because who I'm expecting to give that to me is normally not the person that's giving me that attention I may want during my depression, or that sense of comfort, or better yet, get it, take it from me. Here you go, you can have all of it. But I guess the question would be, has been some of your outlets, or have you guys, discovered your outlet during this process?
Sure. That's such a good question. So I'm realizing that my outlet keeps evolving as I keep evolving. I think what each of us has at some point in our lives are self-destructive outlets, right? Everybody has their vice, everybody has their thing. And I think for a season, everybody uses that to cope. And then I think at a point you realize, I need to have something a little more tangible, a little more sustainable, that's going to last me a little bit longer. And one of those things that has become that outlet for me has been yoga. I haven't practiced as sustainably as I should have throughout the course of quarantine, because I definitely was depressed and I didn't choose to come out of it when I should have. I chose to stay in it a little bit longer.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, when I did kind of come out of it, I realized that there's so much solace in body movement, the act of moving your body, the act of actually coming back to your body. I was a dancer growing up. And so when I completely cut that out of my life, there was a dissociation almost from the existence that I had in my own skin. So yoga and dance and Afro jazz and all those things are my outlets. That's sort of how I get grounded again. It's how I realize that I'm alive, that my skin is still attached to my bones and my bones are working and my joints open, right? I think the second thing that is most cathartic for me as an outlet is swimming. I love to swim. There is such peace in water. I can't describe it any other way outside of just peace. And when I step foot in water, it's like a washing. I'm the girl that'll take 7 or 8 showers a day. That's a little facetious, but I definitely have taken 4, like for sure. Because that washing of the water for me it's a habitual thing. It's a religious thing. It's a spiritual thing. It is my ability to get myself back. I'll share a really brief story. Right after the death of George Floyd, the murder, excuse me, words are powerful. The murder of George Floyd, I had to go to work. I had to act like everything was okay. And at the time, I was the school counselor and the AP psychology teacher. So I have to sort of put on the face. And I was sitting in a meeting and I could feel the panic. I could feel the anxiety rising as I'm sitting in this meeting. And I felt my body getting hot. I literally felt a panic attack through each stage. Like I knew what was happening cognitively. And my body it has shut down, just no more. And I'm on this call and I'm slowly trying to bring myself to have enough humility to say I need to step away from this call because my body is shutting down. And I refused until it was no longer, I couldn't help it. And I told the person who was in charge of that meeting, I've got to go. And I sat for 20 minutes and I let the panic attack do its thing. I let it run my body. The sound went away. I was sweating profusely. I let the thing happen. And then I went and got in water because water was my cleansing. Water was my washing. Water was my ability to bring myself out of this, to say, all right, I need to reset. I need a moment. I need to stop and I need to recenter myself. So I think that's my other outlet. Just if I can't get to the pool, if I can't get to the beach, if I can't maybe travel to the beaches of the world, then all right, I got to get in my shower right quick because that water is going to bring me back to life. And I think it's the small wins, we have the big things that we do, but then we have the small little rituals that we do. I mean, when I come in from work, first thing I do is take a shower because it's my washing. It's my ability to bring myself back to who I am. I hope I answered your question.
You did. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Tiara, you're amazing.
Thank
I
you.
just want to add, before I see some hands, I see some additional hands. I'm going to come to y'all in just a second, but I just have to comment on, I've been, like I said, following on YouTube too. There are a couple of comments here on YouTube that I want to bring up to the forefront here. One is from one of the very deep brothers in the group who always has something amazing to add to conversation. DeAndre Wilson, he says, are women always hurting because most women are empathetic to the plight of others in the world? Is this the nurturer in women?
Mhm.
Does anyone want to speak to that, answer that? I know my answer to that question, but I want to allow some other people to maybe speak to that, and then I'll come back and share mine.
Rhonda, can you repeat the question, please? I'm sorry.
Yes. Are women always hurting because most women are empathetic to the plight of others and the world? Is this the nurturer in women?
I'd like to say something,
Sure.
Rhonda. My answer is yes. I think that we as women internalize a lot. And I really do feel like it has something to do with us being nurturers and being protectors and, you know, bearing children and wanting to ensure their safety, you know, because life comes through women. And so as a woman, I feel like we are, because life does come through us, that we have a sense of that we need to care for it and for everyone. And a lot of times that means that we put ourselves on the back burner. We forget about what we need. And unfortunately, we don't always get what we put out. You know, as a woman, you know, we find ourselves taking care of, and I heard the sister speak about it earlier. She's taking care of mom and aunt, uncle, and who, you know, everybody else. We're always taking care of someone else. And we don't ever think about what we need, what helps us. And it's the plight of the Black woman, unfortunately. You know, we've got to learn to let it go. And it's gonna kill us. It is gonna kill us. And you know, it used to be, oh, you know, I wear all these hats. Well, who the hell wants to wear all these hats? You know what I'm saying? You know, who wants to, you know, like Erykah Badu, bag lady? Who wants to be the bag lady? That is back breaking. And I know, you know, for me as a Black woman, sometimes all you can do, and just like the therapists that we have online, water is my solitude as well. It's just something about the water, the beach, the water when I'm in the shower and the water is just beating down on my head. It's just something about water. And so in the same sense, crying does that for me too. It kind of cleanses my soul. It helps me to get it out. I don't shout, I don't scream, but if I can get in a corner and just cry, it sometimes makes me feel a whole lot better to just release. It's like a pressure cooker, and it's bubbling and it's bubbling, and then all of a sudden, you know, some people release in different ways. Where for me, it's just I just have to cry it out. Some people write and they can just write and write and write. Well, that's not me. I have to just cry it out. And so getting back to the question, absolutely. I think it's the nurturer in us. I think it's just the being female and knowing that life comes through us. It makes it even more difficult. It makes it even more challenging to let that go. But at some point, we're gonna have to. I mean, I know we talk about self-care and all of this, but and we have to. We're gonna have to learn to get back to us as women. Take care of you, because if you're broken, everything else is gonna fall apart and be broken too. You cannot pour from an empty cup. I know that's a you know saying that we've heard over and over, but it holds so much truth for us. You cannot pour from an empty vessel. If you don't have it within you, there is nothing that you can do for anybody else. So that's just my opinion.
I full-heartedly, completely agree. And that was going to be my answer as well. With the George Floyd incident and with the Breonna Taylor incident, Breonna Taylor is the same age as my daughter. And I wept like she was my daughter. And George Floyd, witnessing, I hate that I saw the tape. I really hate that I saw it because I cannot unsee it now. And last week when on the men's chat, when Eugene talked about the lions and how the lioness protects the lion, that is what we do. I mean, that is our nature, to protect. And unfortunately, I think part of the disconnect is that, you know, that male protection needs to come back also. It needs to be a circular protection happening. And so that is what's kind of missing and lacking. So I thank you for sharing that and answering that. And I believe hopefully we answered your question, DeAndre, that I also saw in the chat, Renisha said about she doesn't feel like she's always hurting, but she does know that she's always tired. I'm the same way. I know I feel I don't necessarily hurt all the time, but I am exhausted and exhausted from everything that's going on. But also feeling torn because I'm blessed. I know my life is blessed and I'm grateful. I want to stay blessed and stay grateful, but also you're still feeling everything that's going on. You don't want to come across as being ungrateful or comparing your life with what's going on. And so it is a lot. And so I'm seeing all these hands. I'm sorry. So Robin Evans, you were next. I thank you for letting me take that quick sidebar because I just wanted to acknowledge that we have so many wonderful comments happening in the YouTube chat as well. So go ahead, Robin.
Yes, ma'am. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. So I have my question, somebody alluded to this earlier, that especially being in this pandemic, it's a challenge for all of us, but especially for those of us who live alone. I live alone, I work from home, and I don't have that outlet. So I never had a problem living alone, but this right here, this has been a whole different experience. It's the isolation, and it was starting to eat at me. So what I did was my parents didn't allow their children to complain. It was, okay, that's a problem. So what are you going to do about it? So I started a book club on Facebook. I got my book right here. It's called Deacon King Kong. This is was Oprah Book Club of the Month. But yeah, I found, and I got a treadmill. And so I beat the shit out of that treadmill earlier today. I was having a bad day. I was tired. I was grouchy all day. I was growling at my students. And so this was going to be a whiskey night for me. But I decided when I got off from work, I put my clothes on and I ran for a few minutes and I walked around the house and got some steps in, and I felt so much better. But it's so easy to get stuck in that isolation.
Yes.
And so that's, I had a comment, but I had a question also. So what do you recommend as far as, not getting over the isolation, but coping with it in a productive way?
Yes. So the first thing I would say is to be gracious with yourself. Be gracious with yourself, right? And the word graciousness comes from grace, right? I don't know. I was raised in the church, and I was raised on His grace is sufficient.
Yes, it is.
So when we are gracious with ourselves, it is enough. It is sufficient. So in this time, because it is going to continue, we don't know for how long, But that gracious piece comes from allowing yourself to, it's a journey that's going to have highs and lows, good and bad days, days that I want to fuck everything and everybody, and days that I want you to hug me because I need to be hugged. And allow yourself to feel all of that. Allow yourself to be present in all of that. I mean, what I'm hearing is that you're present and you're still going, right? It's not that you're like oblivious to what you're feeling. No, you're very present to the isolation. You're very present to all of this. And you're saying, all right, well, let me go do something about it, right? I don't think that's wrong. I also think that it's a learning curve, right? I am a therapist, and T is sad most days. Like, I am sad, like genuinely sad. And I allow myself to feel that, and I allow it to pass. And I don't necessarily make myself wrong for feeling sad. Why? Because the world is batshit right now. like even if I wanted to feel like, I have a justifiable reason to not be, right? I'm forced to be in my home against my will because other people out here are not doing what they're supposed to do to protect themselves, to be able to protect me, to be able to get me back to my life. Like, powerless. I'm powerless right now, right? So of course that's going to elicit a range of emotions, a range of feelings. And I think you're doing a great job, to be honest. I think we're all, let me keep it a bean with you. I think we are all doing a fantabulous job of keeping our heads on straight. Like, oh yeah, we are showing up. Like, these spaces show who's trying. You're showing up, you're doing the work. You're like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. Right? That's the relentlessness, the resiliency of Black women. So I think you're doing fine. I think what you're doing is the right thing. I wouldn't even say change it, right? I would say, let's see where this goes. Let's see how we feel in 6 weeks. And if I need to switch it up, I'll switch it up. And if I can keep it the same, I'll keep it the same. But I had a mentor tell me at the beginning of this, and he was so prophetic, didn't even know he was being prophetic. He said, Tiara, you've got to get more comfortable with change. And not just change out here, change in here. You've got to get comfortable with yourself growing and expanding and not liking certain things and liking certain things and being uncomfortable, but being comfortable in that discomfort. You've got to grow a little bit. You've got to expand, and you've got to give yourself grace enough to do that. And that's what I'm hearing you doing. So I would say keep it up. Give us the notes, please.
Right, exactly. Oh wow, I literally am just like tingling. I'm so excited because this is just amazing. Deshawn, you are next up with your comment, question, concern. Deshawn.
Hi. Okay, so I just want to say, I don't really say this is a question. It's more like of a comment, but when Tiara was talking in the beginning, talking about being a high functioning depression, like, I've come to the realization, like, that's me. I made the choice, the really hard choice, as a result of this pandemic and everything, to kind of take a step back from my job. So I'm a teacher here in New Orleans, and it's just a hot mess at this particular moment. And they're still trying to figure it out. But I had to make the conscious choice for myself to say, if I'm not 100%, I can't go do what I love to do for those kids.
Absolutely.
So it was really hard. Like, I battled with it for the last couple of weeks. Like, am I making the right choice?
Yeah.
And then it literally hit me. I had a friend who moved to Houston, and she sent me a random Facebook message like, hey, how you doing or whatever. She's like, I've been thinking about you. Like, I haven't been seeing you post as much. Like, what's going on? I'm like, you don't know what that one little message did for me that day. It really hit me and made me realize, like, somebody posted in the chat, like, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of you. So I made the tough decision to, take some time away from my job to get myself together. I made my first appointment this past week and saw a therapist this week to get myself, mentally together. But like you said earlier, like we're so conditioned to just go, go, go.
Yeah.
And this pandemic has really sat us all down, so we don't have those outlets. So I'm used to being gone. Like, I'm not home. I teach all day. I coach in the evening. I'm tutoring days out of the week. I have a wedding and event planning company also. So I'm never home. I'm always gone. So I never get to sit and, feel.
Yes.
Because I'm always gone. But now, like, this pandemic is like, you stuck inside.
Yeah.
And you kind of like have to deal with it. And it really hit me like some bricks. Like, I have literally been dealing with this for a while. Like, I had a doctor a few years ago, like, do you have anxiety? I'm like, no, I don't have no anxiety. I'm fine. Like, I'm always moving. I'm there for everybody. I can function and process everything, and not wanting to acknowledge that there was an issue or that I do have anxiety about certain things and certain situations. So I really appreciate this group, all of you ladies, like, to see that you're not the only one, and that, somebody else feels your pain and, kind of understands what you're going through and dealing with. Like, it's really refreshing because you don't always have, there's so much taboo on therapy. And, oh yeah, something's wrong with you if you go to therapy. Or if you have a therapist, like, what's wrong with you? What's your deal? So, like, I really appreciate all of this. That's it. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Deshawn.
I apologize.
Don't apologize at all. This is exactly what we wanted. And one of the other segue, the other question or the comment, the topic we wanted to discuss tonight was to help to dispel the myths around therapy in the Black community, right? Because that is you touched right on it, Deshawn. People look at you like, what? You in therapy? But that ain't none of their business. Because you are about you. You're here to help you, to build you. And as an educator, I know how much it takes, how being an educator is so much more than just teaching the content. We are pulled on by so many different directions, and expected to do so much with so little, that it's a very emotionally draining career. But it's not just a career, it's a calling. And if you're not full and able to do it to the best of your ability, you did the right thing by stepping away, because you don't want to be a person to inflict harm on a child because of the way that you're feeling or something that's going on. So I applaud you for having the courage to step back and say, okay, I need to reflect and do this. And that's what I'm seeing from this pandemic. Yes, there's been a lot of negative things that have happened, but the positive that has happened out of this is that it's causing us to stop, pause, and reflect.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And even though we can't, like, I'm still dealing with this whole pandemic insomnia. I can't sleep like I normally sleep. But what has helped me in this process is reframing the stuck at home to the safe at home. Right. And telling myself, I'm not stuck, I'm safe. I'm free to go outside. I'm free to go out, but do I want to? No. Do I want to go out there and deal with these people? No. But I'm choosing to be safe at home, and maybe that can help too. So some people not feel as burdened by the fact that we're in this quarantine. To know that you're safe. You're helping yourself. You're helping your family. You're helping others. Tiara, were you going to say something? I thought I heard you start to say something.
I was, but the thought has come and passed at this point. So
it'll come back. We still have so many hands. Oh my gosh, I love ladies. Y'all are on it tonight. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Rhonda, I want to say something, Zarshina. Something that the young lady just said right before you spoke is that about therapy and how in the Black community therapy is seen as taboo. That is yet another thing for us to try to dispel.
Exactly.
Really need to work on, because therapy is good, and just as our guest host said earlier, therapy may not be actually sitting on a couch or, talking to a therapist. It could be whatever outlet you need to get it out. And so when she said that, I was like, oh man, why has it, what has it, what has it that makes therapy so taboo in our community? Like, I don't understand, or I know, because it's like, keep everything in house, and you don't
Right.
tell anything outside
Don't
of the
air
house.
your dirty laundry. Don't be telling folks
Don't
what
air
happens
your
here
dirty
stays here. Yeah.
laundry, or you telling all your business, or whatever it is. We have got to learn to get past that, because holding this stuff in is killing us. It is killing us.
Literally.
It's harming us. And the you said something earlier about being tired and being, sick or what have you. And I definitely agree. I know for me, I wake up so sore. And then you would think like I am boxing with Mike Tyson. I wake up that kind of sore, because I am tossing and turning all night. I don't get into a deep REM of sleep. And so my mind is constantly racing. I find myself waking up in the middle of the night, writing stuff down. And it's just like, why can't I just get a peaceful night's sleep without, taking anything? Or, at one point I found myself drinking, like, having a drink every night. And there's nothing wrong with that. But, not to the point that it was to the point that I needed it to go to sleep kind of deal. Yep. And so luckily I was one of those that was strong enough to say, I don't need that. I can just do without. But some people aren't. And therein lies another problem, where you start an addiction. And that adds on to the fact that you need therapy. But I just had to say that, like, we've got to get away from looking at therapy as taboo. It's not taboo. It's going to help. Whatever we can do to help better our mental state, our physical state, whatever it is, we have got to do it to make ourselves better and feel feel good about ourselves. Because once you get to the point of feeling depressed, then you start, having these bad thoughts about, then you start thinking bad about yourself, and then there comes the low self-esteem, and then it starts perpetuating into everything else. Your job, your relationships, your sister friends, your ability to go places. And so it just transcends into other parts of our lives. So I just want us to be able to get away from that part of therapy being taboo. So that's all I had.
Yeah, thank you for that, Tiara. I saw you react to that too. Did you have something you want to add to that comment?
So I think when we sort of look to how do we affect change around changing the narrative around therapy in the Black community, I sort of go all the way back to historically, what has the connotation of being crazy in the Black community given us, right? Systemically, historically, when Black people are categorized as crazy, because mind you, in this country, we were seen as animals.
True.
Okay, so now they've upgraded us from animals to humans. But now these humans are crazy, or they're deranged, or they're separate and apart from the other humans. So now I'm openly acknowledging that something is wrong up here with me. So it's much bigger than that moment you're present to. This is generations. We've got generational trauma coming in right now. And part of the reason why, I don't know how where everybody is from, but I'm from the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia area. And in Baltimore, Maryland, we have Johns Hopkins University. And if you're unfamiliar with the controversies around Johns Hopkins University and the Black community in Baltimore, Maryland, um, it is not uncommon to hear horror stories that depict Johns Hopkins attendants kidnapping, for lack of a better term, kidnapping individuals in the Black community to perform experimentation upon them. Mental, physical, whatever you want to call it. All right. And if we choose to be a little more aggressive in this conspiracy theory, we could also say that, you know, the confirmation of this is based upon I don't know if you're familiar with Henrietta Lacks, but HeLa cells. Okay, so we've got that going. So it makes sense to me why in my family, my friend's family, when we say your cousin is bipolar, or you say your uncle is schizophrenic, no, they're not. We don't talk about that. We don't acknowledge that. They're just a little off. They're just a little different. Because if I openly acknowledge that there was a problem, if I openly acknowledge that there is a diagnosable disease that requires some form of treatment, they could be ripped away from me. I could never see them again. They could be completely different when they come back into my home. So there's a generational trauma that's associated with the stigma of therapy. And therapists, for lack of a better term, in the mainstream media for Black people do more damage than they do help.
Speak on it.
Yep, go ahead.
Speak on it.
That's why we need more of you out there.
That's why we need more individuals who actually know what they're doing and not playing with people's lives to get money. And literally just destroying our community. So I think a lot of how we reshape the narrative of therapy is to have people like me. I look like you, I sound like you, I come from you. And I'm giving back free of charge, right? I'm showing up for my community in a way that may or may not have gotten me further or accolades or whatever. No, my people need me. And so I'm showing up in that way. And that brings therapy to the real person. That takes, I can just talk. I could just be real. I could just show up. I could just be me. And I think that's how we change the narrative. I think that's slowly how we reshape how we look at seeking therapy. I mean, I think about Sharon telling an ex, you need to go to therapy because something's wrong with you. And the way that landed for him was, I'm inadequate, something's wrong. He didn't hear therapy. He heard, you're wrong, you're bad, you need to be fixed. And we sort of have to change how we see the word therapy. Nobody's fixing anything. You are whole and complete as is. Stand in that power and go talk to somebody to maybe help you see what's missing. Just what's missing. It's just missing. It's probably there. We just haven't seen it. We haven't discovered it. Right. It's hiding behind something.
Yep.
That's it. I love it. Jonna, did I say your name correctly? Jonna Riley? You had your hand up?
You did, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
I'm really grateful to be here. I joined late, but something that Tiara said that brought out a thought in me when she was talking about the power of water and how she cleanses herself with it, and it just like rejuvenates her and all that. It made me think about all of our ancestral ways that we have like gotten away from. And there's spiritual things that we can talk about. There's the power of connecting with God and however you see God, there's power in that, but there's also like things very specific things that our ancestors did that kept them through all of the craziness that we've experienced. Absolutely. Water is one of them. Connecting with land is another one. Like when I feel crazy, I just go outside. I go outside, I feel the sun on my skin. If I got time, I take my shoes off, I put my feet in the dirt, I put my hands in the dirt. Like, think about how our grandmas and our grandpas grew gardens. I love, like, people make fun of like the resurgence of plant moms and all of that, but like there is so much power in what our ancestors did, like writing out our prayers, just sitting still, or even the movement, like the dance, the singing that we do. Like a lot of the things that we do naturally are actually connected to our ancestors. And I think there's power in that can keep us and sustain us. And specifically when we look at it in a way of connecting it to our ancestors, I think that that is extremely powerful in helping us just keep our mental health up. So that's all I wanted to say. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you for that. Thank you and welcome. Ms. A. Ms. A.
Hold up, wait, trying to get my life together. Give me a second.
Okay.
Okay, can you guys see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. So here, two things. I don't know, my life's not together. Okay, so two things. One concerning the elements and one concerning the aspect of protection for the Black woman. So I heavily agree with getting back to the root of our elements. I came up Christian, came up to the church, particularly Seventh-day Adventist. And for a long time, beyond those doctrines, I always had questions no one gave me answers for. So upon my own research, I've come to believe a lot that, like the previous statement, given our lineage as African Americans, our roots lying in Africa, getting back to that is a great way to kind of restart, given where we are right now. My own personal testimony or resurgence of such is that though I live in Maryland, in the DMV area, and something that really resonates with me is the fact that as a kid, I used to love like making, y'all remember making like water bottle, like tornadoes and stuff like that?
Absolutely, yes.
So getting back to doing, so I'm an art teacher.
Okay.
So getting back to doing stuff like putting my hands in water and really just like watching it move, the way it surges, changing its colors with food dye, stuff like that, that has really gotten me to get back introspectively on myself. That's not a correct word. It's allowed me to be more introspective of self. And I want to relate that to protection for the Black woman, because for centuries, literally, it just seems that we see Black women protecting everybody and everything else except ourselves. Not to say that we don't do it, we just don't do it enough. And now we've come to the point where the trope is that is the trope, that we don't take care of ourselves, take care of everybody else. That's our lot in life. And what I've come to understand for myself is that part of that is true, because personally, speaking of my own life, I want to take care of the people who I really care about around me, even the people who I've grown up with, particularly family, where I've had like a really difficult relationship. Like, for example, my dad's relationship with me and mine with him has been rocky for years. It's only been now as an adult that I have grown to have my own voice and power to understand what protection is for me personally and how that relates to protection of self in my community. So something simple as my daddy's nasty little habit of just barging in a room when I'm clearly don't want to be bothered, lock the door. Because if I've already spoken to him before about, can you just knock before you walk in, and he still don't do that, first I had to stop demonizing my dad, because I'd done it for years. Then I had to understand that was a problem for me. And from that problem, what's a simple solution to get him to understand the new boundary I'm trying to set for myself as an adult? Answer, lock the door. As soon as he juggles the door, no, oh, knock, knock, knock. Hey, man, are you in there?
Right.
So it helps for, I think, more Black women to find small solutions to those problems. Like a lot of the time, and not to down what you guys talking about therapy, I think it's a wonderful thing to do about therapy, but part of the work is you have to want it. So if you don't want it, therapy can be, for lack of better terms, glamorized for everybody over and over again for Black people and all that kind of stuff. And it's good, but if you don't want it, or if you don't even see it as a thing that you need to do, it's hard to really accept something like that. Right. So when I say protection for Black women, I mean, start off small. Like, even if you don't go to therapy, even if you don't do like BetterHelp, or even if you don't go to the resources or websites, I think that because Black women are built a certain kind of way, we've always had the ability to find small solutions that can build up and, you know, be the solution to solve a thing. Yeah. Me locking the door, me telling everybody I'm only doing dishes on A, B, and C day. Right. Any other day, y'all got to figure it out. Even tell them, and I've seen myself up to this point in my life telling my students, because as a teacher, I want to empower my students. Unfortunately, we don't really have a concrete idea of showing or expressing what protection is from a child's standpoint, because for a long time, and I'm from Alabama, so just the Southern aspect has been children are seen, not heard. So me being who I am, where I came through, what do I tell my students? First and foremost, you have a choice. You have a voice. The trick is finding how to properly use your voice to get your notion heard. Sure. So by encouraging and empowering my kids that way, I find myself much better able as a teacher to empower the next generation, admitting when I don't have the answer, but you know, maybe if you pose this question to somebody like this, you might get the answer you're looking for. So at no point am I the end all be all, which is another thing I think women, I think other women should stop saying or using Black women as the end all be all to knowing things. We do not know everything. We know much. We do not know everything. So I just wanted to tap on that concerning protection. Finding small solutions, whether you go for therapy or not, can do so many wonders. And I feel like that's not really emphasized enough. Therapy is wonderful, but for the people who don't know nothing about therapy, who don't do the resources, or who don't feel the need to do, I don't feel like you shouldn't be left out because of that. There are things that you can do to find small things to help you change your attitude for self, your situation, your mindset, your perception of thinking.
That's all about taking back your power. That's an example of taking back your power. Little by little.
That's it. And I feel like in this country, people think, or this is just my opinion, I think you see more Black women using their voice in a very loud way, and can't nobody tell us no, because we here and you ain't about to stop us. But in that same vein, we need to talk about those small voices because they matter just as much.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you.
So that's the source of protection I think we should take a little bit more seriously too.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate you for sharing that. Thank you so much. Naisha, and then I have a couple of comments from YouTube, and we're so over time as always, but Naisha,
yeah,
you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I wanted to touch on what Stina and what Ashley were talking about as far as being the go-to or
Did we lose her? Naisha?
Froze.
Yep, she's frozen up. Naisha, we'll come back to you if we, is she back?
Me?
Okay, yeah, you froze up for a second. We didn't hear you.
I let my family know what was going on with me. And so it's hard to talk about trauma that happened in your childhood into your adult life. It's very hard. So I had to seek therapy because it was manifesting in other ways. I was a correctional officer for 15 years. So I held a lot of trauma from what I saw at work into my personal life. And then my dad died of a heart attack. Then I got diagnosed with a heart condition because I was holding in a lot. And so therapy helped me to unpack a lot of the stuff that I was holding. You know, so it takes a lot. It takes a lot of strength to go to therapy. It takes a lot of strength to voice what you have been holding, because it kills you if you don't release it. So to Ashley and to Cena, even if you don't talk to your pastor or your mom or your friends or whoever, find somebody that you trust to talk about what you're dealing with. Like I said before, I was molested, and me being molested, I held it because it was by family members who was very close to me. And so when you talk about unpacking molestation to your family, it's hard. It's very hard to talk about that. And my mom was upset with me because I didn't tell when it happened to me at the age of 5. I didn't know how to say it because I was protecting my family, you know? So therapy helped me unpack a lot of the guilt, a lot of the shoulder bearing that I did. And I tell anybody right now, I still go to therapy, because when I was going through my divorce, I tried to kill myself because it was too much to bear, you know? So I'm a champion and an advocate for therapy. So for those who are hiding or those who don't want to have to tell people, I implore you to tell somebody before it manifests in other ways. That's all I had to say.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. That's my sister right there, Naisha. That I see a couple other hands here, but I want to segue to another comment from YouTube. Brother DeAndre again. He's representing for the men. So he asked, can we hear about some tangible things we, Black men, boyfriends, husbands, can do to help our women cope with these stresses and be more supportive? You know, we are solution driven. Continuously hearing all these problems and not hearing solutions we can provide or help with will drive us up the wall. We don't like seeing our women hurting. We may think we know, but we probably need to hear it from you all's mouths.
Right.
So what can the men do?
Be there. Be there first. Yeah.
Well, and I was gonna say, you know, I think first and foremost, ask her what she wants, because every woman is different, and the way that one woman may want her man to support or show up for her could be very different than the way another woman wants to. I think a good rule of thumb for a way a man can be supportive is to listen, and not with the intention to be heard, but with the intention to hear. Should I say that again?
Say that again? Yes, you should. Please do. Please do.
We, the men, can help us is by listening with the intention to hear and not just to be heard. How many of us show up to relationships, show up to conversations, right? And I need you to hear what I got to say, because this is how I feel right now. And we're not really listening to hear what they're saying. We're not really listening for their response or how they feel. No, this is what's in my space, and I'm about to dump it so you can feel how I feel, right? And I think the best way for a woman when she is a little bit overwhelmed, when it's a lot going on, sometimes we don't really want you to fix the problem. We just want you to listen. Hey, I just gotta talk this out, bro. Like, I just gotta talk this out. I don't really need a fixer here. I just need somebody to, hey, let me say what I have to say. And afterwards, I don't know if I can say this, but afterwards, handle your business towards me, please.
That's right.
All right. That's it. And that is in no way to diminish what role the man plays in our lives, right? But I think we should sort of keep changing how the man even sees the woman. We don't necessarily need to be saved. May not need you to fix it. We may already have the solution. We may already see how it's gonna go. We just sometimes need somebody to hold space for us.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I got a lot going on. I'm juggling a lot. I got 4 and 5 hats on. Right? Please don't ask me what's for dinner. Please don't ask me what's for dinner. Right? If you see it's no food in the house, please stop at the grocery store and bring some food home. That's how you show up for me. Right? If you see that, I don't know, I haven't gotten I've been moving so fast, I haven't had a chance to get my nails done, because my nails are something that I live for. This is me. So if you see I haven't had a chance to get my nails done, and you see, maybe if I put this load of clothes in the washing machine and pick up the kids, okay, cool, she can go get her nails done. That's how you show up for me. It's not always about buying or fixing. It's just showing up. It's being in a partnership. Just ask her, talk to her. And sometimes she doesn't know. So don't get frustrated when she's like, I don't fucking know shit, right? Like, don't get frustrated. Sometimes she doesn't know. And stay there with her until she figures it out. Because understand, this is a journey for us too. I mean, we're finding the language to even be able to express how we feeling on the inside. So if we haven't figured it out, we probably can't communicate it to you. So if you see us overwhelmed, you don't maybe know how to show up, ask us. And if we don't know how to tell you how to show up for us, be patient. Be patient and be observant. It's something, you'll see something. You will.
You'll see something. Exactly. And thank you, all of that. And let me just go ahead and read some of these comments that are in the chat here, because y'all on YouTube can't see these comments.
Right.
So we have what you just said about listen to hear and not to be heard. That's a whole word in and of itself. Anticipate her needs. Someone says that she's always found that sexy. Example, if she's running late from work, start dinner. Some things just don't need to be fixed. Do not make the situation about you.
Ooh.
It's not always about you, right? It's if we're venting or trying to get something out, this situation may not be about you. So do not make it about you.
Absolutely.
Don't discount our feelings.
Yeah.
We are different. Men and women process things differently.
Yeah.
And so just because it seems minor to you as a man doesn't mean that it's minor to us. We talked earlier about the fact that we're nurturers, we're feelers, we're the people that give life. So we are going to feel things differently.
Yeah.
We're going to feel things differently.
My very first, like, I'll say real relationship. You know, women have this thing called PMS, before menstrual cycle, and mine would just be a little intense on certain months. Okay? And anytime anything would happen, whether I'm upset, whether I'm annoyed, whether I feel like you didn't listen to me, it was because I was getting ready to come on my period. That was the invalidation of what I was saying, what I was feeling. And I don't quite think he knew it was invalidating. I think for him, it took a level of pressure off of him. Like, she's not really mad right now. Her hormones just going crazy and she's tripping. So I don't really need to take this as seriously.
Right.
So I don't think oftentimes men always know how they may be invalidating.
Right.
So if she says something to the effect of, I always feel, and you say something like, you don't always feel, that's invalidating. We oftentimes don't know that that's invalidating until like weeks later. It's like, I be talking to you and I don't be feeling like you hearing me, bro. Like, it's just
right.
The language. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was perfect. So some other ways that the men can help. Listen and hug me. Just a hug, you know.
Yes.
Just a hug.
Just hug me, please.
Sometimes that's all you need is just a hug.
Rhonda, can I jump in and say, especially now during this pandemic, human touch, we have missed out on that for so many months. The human touch is so important, especially during this pandemic, that sometimes that's all it takes. That's all it takes is for a hug from some big, strong arms to let you know that everything is going to be okay. Whatever happened at work, you forget about it until you get back there tomorrow, and then you can deal with it. But sometimes that hug, that human touch is just so very important. And again, the sister said it earlier, when you live alone, or when you don't have children, or your children are out of the house and it's just you, this pandemic will really freak with your mind and have you going, a little bit crazy. So when you do get the opportunity to be in the presence of a sister or a woman, just give her a hug, because right now, I'm telling you, it was my post the other day. I just needed a hug. Nothing was wrong. I just needed a hug. And
exactly.
I miss that so much. And so thank God, I had all these virtual hugs, and I really do appreciate it. But man, just to have that human touch it just does something to you. So definitely, just a hug sometimes will make it all better.
Can I say this? Sure. I'm gonna type it, and I'm gonna pull a page out of the men's chat, 2 men's chats ago. Don't throw shit back in our face. It takes a lot for us to come to you and unpack what's going on with us. And if we decide to give you that trust where we've sat down with you and told you what's going on, don't throw that shit back in our face. Because I can promise you we're not coming back to you again. And now you got a communication problem.
Right. Exactly.
Take a page out of your own book. You asked us not to do it, so I'm gonna say it right back to y'all. Stop it.
Can I say something just to double on to what Ashley said? And I put it in the chat already, but it's don't attack us in your confusion. If we're confused and we're confusing you, don't attack us, because what happens is we shut down and then we don't know what to say to you and we don't know how to handle it. And so as women, when we shut down, y'all feel like, oh, you're not talking to me, you don't want to say something to us. Don't attack us because we're confused and now we've confused you. Just stand there, be that support for us. Because if you can't do that, then we can't trust you. And that starts to create a rift that the men don't want to see. And we don't want to see it either.
Exactly.
Or just work on yourself. Men need to work on themselves so they know how to be emotionally present for the person that they're dating. Because like somebody else said, it's not about you. And if you don't know how to emotionally be there for someone else, then you're gonna make it about you because you're in a place of deficit and you can't give from a place of a deficit.
So true.
Take the time, please. I'm sorry to interrupt. Take the time to understand where the person you're with or trying to date, if whoever your significant other is or whoever you're dating, take the time to understand how they communicate emotionally so that you can understand when they're not in the best emotional space, you know how to cater to it. Like oftentimes men will be like, oh, they over emotional, they sensitive, but like, I don't think men understand like that sensitivity, that over emotional, that's rooted from something. If you can know that and understand that a bit better, you can, you won't always get that automatic dismissiveness of, oh, I'm listening to you, but I'm really hearing you because you just, extra. So I feel like if you just take the time to get to know the emotional parts of your partner, for us women, like we're able to accept that a little bit more because we have a better lane of communication that way.
Well, I would I think offer to maybe like put a cherry on top of all of that. The use of language, how we use language, how we put certain words together in a specific sentence creates or destroys. It's just as simple as that. It either brings life to something or it tears it down. And I think whenever we go to have a conversation, whenever we go to set up vulnerability, because when you're vulnerable, it's a setup, right? You give yourself mentally, you get prepared to get vulnerable because you know what that takes. You know the strength that takes. So I think whenever we give ourselves the opportunity, the permission to get vulnerable, we get very careful about our language. And the only thing I would offer is that whenever we sit down and have a conversation, especially one that is steeped in connection, intimacy, be careful of the language we use on both sides, right? Because whether we choose to acknowledge it or not, our significant other is the mirror to us. We are the mirror to them. You know, women, we give life. We are life givers. That's who we are. When we touch something, something is created, period. And so we want to be conscious about how we use the words to pour into that significant other and how they use those words to pour into us. Because words are powerful. They create and they destroy. And you always want to be conscious about the language you use in any conversation, but especially within conversations that are between two people that share intimate space, that closeness, that fellowship, that koinonia, because now I've gotten into you and you've gotten into me.
Right. I love it.
Rhonda,
Yes.
I just wanted to add something to what Tanya said, excuse me, not Toya, Tanya, but what she said about attacking and confusion. I know for me, because I swear I just had this conversation like this week, but I know for me, I go through conversations in my mind. If the conversation is going to be a crucial conversation, something that I actually teach in my own job, if I know that this conversation has the potential to offend, I go through it in my mind before I bring it to somebody. Because it's going to cause me, I don't care if it causes me anxiety all day thinking about it, because I do want to make sure that I use the right words that are not accusatory and that are not assuming things, because I've already had my time to make assumptions in my mind and tell myself those stories. So now I'm coming from my point of view, from my feelings. And I know for me, if I'm being vulnerable and transparent with you on something that's bothering me, don't let the fact that you have things going on, push through how you respond. Because that's why I'm like, she said attacking through frustration and confusion. I'm like, wow, yeah, that's it. Because please understand, when I get vulnerable or transparent with someone, it has taken me a day, sometimes a week, to get to the point of being comfortable enough to speak up for myself and speak up for what I'm feeling. And it's not to accuse, it's not to assume that that is the intent behind something, but it's me speaking from what I feel and what I see. It's the perception that I'm getting. And at the end of the day, it's just that level of reassurance. My highest love language is words of affirmation. And it may suck for people who don't always speak, they work through actions, but it's like, realize that I'm showing you that mine is through words, because I like to talk. I like to communicate when something's not right. I communicate when something doesn't sit right with me. So understand that when I get to a point of vulnerability with you, throwing it back in my face is the same thing as getting frustrated with what I'm saying. Because please believe, I've already went through my mind. I know it's going to offend you. I know it's probably not going to sit well with you. But I've gone through it and I've vetted the words that I'm using. I'm trying to be as sympathetic to you as I can, but with respect to my own feelings. Because I'm a human at the end of the day. I have the right to have feelings. And if something is not right with me, I'm going to speak on it. I'm learning that about myself. I'm trying to speak up. So understand, it's taken me a long time to get to a place to speak up when something does not sit right with me. And I can appreciate a couple of ladies in the group that have helped me understand that too, that I do need to speak up more. But when I do, the worst feeling is not being heard when you do speak up. The worst feeling is when, being that I'm a people pleaser, it's horrible when they react the way that the worst case scenario in your mind. When they react that way, it's like, well, damn, but now I have to be okay in my life with people not wanting to be around me after I speak my feelings, or people wanting to walk out on me. I have to be okay with that, because at the end of the day, I have to protect my peace. I know what I bring. I know what I can bring to the table. And if something is interrupting that or something doesn't sit right with me, I'm going to speak on it. But if men really want to know what they can do in those moments, just listen. Like she said, just listen. You know what I mean? Hear my point of view. Even if you don't like it, it's not about defending yourself. It's not about being frustrated with me in that moment. Just understand that it took a lot for me to get to that point, to say those words. So how it's received and how you react to it, it can either push me away or make me shut down. And then, like Ashley said, we're gonna have a real communication problem, because I'm not gonna want to say anything else to you. I'm just gonna withdraw and go back to my old self and just step away, essentially ghosting.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that, Sina, and all the ladies who have shared tonight. Y'all, we are at 2 hours. We've been here for 2 hours, and I know we could go another 2 hours, but we all have to get up. Well, most of us have to get up in the morning, go to work, even if we're just going across the hall to the living room. So I do want to wrap us up, and thank Tiara for your wisdom, your expertise, your communication skills, your love of people, and you couldn't see all the comments, I know you were focused, but in the chat, people were saying you are needed in this community. Thank you for being you. Thank you for your love of Black people and Black women. In the other chat, the men in the YouTube chat, I had to let them know that you were not single. Okay, so tell Brandon that I spoke up for you, that you were not single. So don't get me in trouble with Brandon. Don't get me in trouble. But I do want to know if there's any last words you want to share to part before I give Arshina an opportunity to close out, and then I'll close us up totally out.
Sure. Well, again, I am just honored to have held space with each and every one of you. As much as you have learned, I have learned, and I am just grateful to be at the table with each and every one of you. And I hope that as you continue along this journey, because it is just that, a journey, that you allow yourself to journey. You allow yourself to take every step, every moment, every memory, every pain, every heartache in stride, because it makes you who you are.
Thank you. Courtney, I apologize. I missed you. Do you want to say something real quick, Courtney? I apologize.
No, actually, I was joking. Stacy was chiding me that, I had my hand raised for so long, but I appreciated everything that everyone had to say. And there were some awesome questions coming from the guys, in particular, DeAndre. And I loved how Tiara answered. I was like, yes, sis, absolutely. You hit like 25 different points. And so really a lot of what I had to say, you said it, which happened on the last women's chat, which is why I didn't chime in then. But I really appreciate this discussion. The one thing that I wanted to mention, and I think we came full circle to talk about it, was that question about women hurting, and because we are empathetic and we carry so much and we feel so many people's pain. And what I wanted to say about that is, I don't think that we have the monopoly on that. I do think that men are fully capable of empathy as well, and of feeling our pain and feeling the stress that and then DeAndre came and asked the question that basically said exactly that. And so I thought it was interesting to talk about that, or wanted to talk about it, because I felt like sometimes we crouch empathy as a female thing. And we kind of subconsciously discourage men from exercising that muscle, when in actuality is so critical to having a healthy relationship with anybody, especially one with an intimate partner, and one with as a parent to a child. And so in an earlier conversation in the group, there was this image about a child who had been told to man up and was called out of their name, and then later couldn't exercise their agency in an emotional kind of context because they hadn't learned the skill. But that crouching of empathy as a female thing is sort of what drives that mentality that early on, that's not for you to practice, that's for her to practice. And so I think the answer is, yeah, we are empathetic and we feel the pain, but I have encountered some amazing men who are very empathetic, and that's why the relationship with them is so fulfilling. So I just want to encourage our guys to really practice the empathy muscle, even if you're not in a relationship with a woman. Practice it now so that you can be awesome when she comes along. And that's it, Ms. Rhonda. Thank you for letting me speak.
No, you were amazing. Thank you. Arshina.
Yes, thank you for everyone joining in our special guest host, Miss Tiara. You are simply amazing, a godsend. For some reason, Rhonda and I just kind of seem to, I don't know what it is, some type of psychic connection that we have.
It's a God thing, girl. It's a God thing.
I don't know what it is, but we have got this thing in tune with each other that we know exactly, what we want to bring up and discuss. And when we were talking about the discussion tonight, and she mentioned having Miss Tiara on, it fell right in line with what I had in mind as well. So it kind of came full circle. But I just want to leave us with saying that this sisterhood that we have formed in this HBCU SL group is just beyond amazing. We are here for one another. We're here. Someone posted earlier, we know that this was supposed to be a love connection group, but wanted to know if we had established any sister friends from this. Absolutely. I think we've all established some type of connection with another female, and that is so important. That's so important for our mental health, for even for our physical health. To, you might be near someone that you can go walking with or what have you. So whatever the connection is, I pray that it is blessed beyond measure, whether it's a male-female connection, or, you found another best friend in this group. I really pray that it is blessed beyond measure, and that we continue to heal our hearts, heal our souls, and take back the power that we have within. That is my prayer for all of us. Of course, ultimately, the love is the ultimate goal, but you have to love yourself first. And so I pray that we all find that love within, and then it will manifest out and attract the right gentleman, because we have some awesome men in this group. We have some dynamic men, some kings. If you all have not been on one of their chats, you've got to chime in. They are some of the most amazing men that I have ever encountered. And so I just pray that we all can find a love connection with one of them, because they are so awesome. And you ladies are awesome. So I just, again, want you all to have a blessed weekend as we're approaching, and just continue to heal yourself. Put the work in to do what's best for you. Heal yourself, love yourself, forgive yourself, have grace for yourself. That's important. And so that's all I have to say, Rhonda. And I do apologize for being late tonight. I had another meeting that kind of overstepped, but I chimed in as soon as I could, and I'm so glad that I did. So thank you so much.
Oh, you chimed in just on time. We chimed in just on time. So ladies, thank you so much. Again, thank you to the administrators, our amazing administrators of HBCU Singles Lounge, for providing this platform, providing this opportunity. This has been a blessing and a healing for me as well. And I just appreciate every single one of you, even though we've not met in person. When we do, when the world opens back up, I'm going on a tour across the nation, just a hugging tour, just like grandma said, I just gotta hug your neck, baby, just gotta hug your neck. So so thank you all so much. We have this chat, the second Thursday of every month. So we're kind of debating having it more than that, but right now it's the second Thursday of every month. So go ahead and put that on your calendar. Bring a friend, bring some more people, and we will continue to grow and heal together. So again, Tiara, thank you so much. I owe you so much. And all of the ladies that shared tonight, we appreciate your vulnerability, your transparency. And to all the gentlemen who were supporting us on YouTube, thank you as well. So signing off, Women's Chat. We love you and have a blessed week.
Bye.
Bye, y'all. Bye-bye. Thank you.